Good day, everyone, or good night, wherever you are. If you're in the East Coast, it is now 8:30. So let's delve into some crazy stuff here, done by none other than the idiot in charge, Joe Biden, Mr. Slow himself, the molasses of the Midwest. So he unveiled a infrastructure plan, is what he called it. $2 trillion to add to our deficit, and spans over 8 years, and is supposed to tackle what he says is the veterans offices. What's up, Tom? What's up, Lost Stone? Supposed to tackle some infrastructure on highways and some water, and what else did he say it was going to cover? The water, the VA, the roads, and freeways. Oh, and trying to implement some kind of job training for when they try to make everything go green by the removal of fossil fuels. So his goal is to remove the fossil fuel industry, even though he said he was not going to during his campaign. Of course, we all know that he went back and forth anyway, so we knew he was lying. So it's not like there's anything new. So I decided I'm going to take a look at this bill and see what exactly his goal was and how. That's the first question. How are you going to get $2 trillion from an already depleted economy? And so I was trying to wonder, what exactly would he have to do? Because it's going to be kind of tough for him to just pull another 1.9 or $2 trillion out of the American taxpayers' behinds. I mean, we're already 23 in the hole, trillion, that is. So he wants to bump us up to 25 trillion, 25.3 to be exact. Technically, it's actually going to end up being 27 because he has another 2 trillion that he's trying to add on top of that over 10 years. So how exactly is he going to pull $2 trillion to get done what he wants to get? His idea: raising corporate taxes. He wants to raise corporate taxes from 21% to 28%. And those of us who understand economics and understand what that does to businesses, it's going to make them not stay here. What's up, Jennifer? He's actually putting a tax too on them exporting and importing. So what you will see happening is them leaving, because it's a lot less tax to be importing and exporting, by the way, that he's going to place. But I think it's mostly to do with their bringing in as opposed to, no, they're going out as opposed to bringing in. You will see a lot of these corporations leave the United States, taking with them thousands and thousands, if not millions, of jobs. And right now, most of the corporations in the United States suffered a loss over the last year, and to the tune of almost, I want to say 3%, that their profit margin went down 3%. And if you manage to get that loss plus a tax on top of it, how are you going to create jobs, Joe Biden? How exactly are you creating jobs and making people back to work? And where he says he's going to put in for job training, what jobs? There won't be any. If corporate America decides to just stop using America as their location, there are no jobs. they're bringing in more than 70% of the income that the United States uses right now because they're the highest taxed. Even the mom and pops places that barely make it are being taxed to death now. The ones that make over 200,000 a year being taxed almost like they are corporations. So now you're running out of money because you're sending it all back to government who abuse it anyway and send it overseas. He's planning to send money to the Palestinians, for crying out loud. So where exactly are the American people supposed to get this money to send in as taxes? I don't get how people listen to a plan like this and think it's excellent. How is it that you can't get through your thick skull that if you don't have the resources to maintain a tax, you're going to go out of business? And in order for you not to go out of business, if you can find a spot overseas to do your business, you're going to go overseas, taking the jobs there. He wants to compete with China. He will never be able to compete with China because China won't let him compete because they have too much dirt on him. They have his foot to the fire right now. In the grand scheme of things, he's selling out America. So this plan that he might put out for $2 trillion based on his entire basis is getting that money from corporate America. If they decide they're not paying it by taking their jobs elsewhere, this plan falls through. And if he begins processing this particular information through the channels of he's going to actually build stuff without getting that money. You know who that's going to fall to? You and I. So on top of the crisis at the border and having to pay for their nonsense, you got another almost 1 million people bringing in here to try and have to keep up, to house, to feed. Then you haven't produced any jobs. You still want lockdowns. You want to tax the corporations to death, causing them to leave America, more joblessness, and all they're doing is siphoning off the top for unemployment. The only person left to pay this and carry this bill are the taxpayers. So now you have taxpayers that are funneling and they just keep stealing. They'll end up giving you back less. They'll find another tax to drop on you. I mean, he's already trying to drop a mileage tax across the board. That's what I don't get. He wants a mileage tax to cover infrastructure while dropping this $2 trillion deficit on top of America and saying that corporate America will cover it. So what exactly are you taxing me for if that's where you plan to get your money? It tells me somebody's stealing something. If your plan to pay for roads and infrastructure is to tax me on my miles that I drive and for use, a use tax, then you're going to tax corporate America extra 8% on top of what they already pay. Where exactly am I supposed to? It's almost like people that in the day that used to have to pay for protection. It's a shakedown. You can use this road, but you got to pay this toll. I will never understand. But I do, because their goal was never to save the American population or corporate America from anything. Their entire job was to remove America from the power scheme across the globe. That's their whole point, is to bring down America. They have no other interest other than bringing down America. They didn't have any plan for the border because they didn't need one. They want the influx. See, if they have the influx, and mind you, just remember too that They're no longer checking for children, parents. They say they have these phone numbers that they call. They're not calling any phone numbers. There's no more ID checks, no more background checks for people taking care of folks at the border. So the people that are taking care are some of the people that are on lists that are for pedophilia. So now you have people looking over migrant children with no ID, no background, no family to call, going missing. But I'll save that for a different topic. Because when I do start tackling that, I have to go into a whole nother slew of nonsense that I cannot right now. I just can't. It's too much, too heavy. This has enough issues of its own. So you have people in government that are saying, we want to repair the VA. Now he's also undoing almost every tax cut that President Trump did. He's not just going after corporate America. He's trying to undo all of the tax cuts that middle America got. So any money that you saw over the last 3 years that President Trump passed is going to just go away the next time you file. This man is single-handedly given foreign powers complete control over the U.S. economy. Single-handedly. You ruin the economy by doing the shutdowns. Continue it. Kill off most of the population with this vaccine. Keep the people controlled. Accuse the people of opening states to be murderers. Then you tax corporations so that they can't keep people employed. You promise unemployment at a certain rate and then yank it back. In order to pay for that unemployment, then you have to have more taxes. So they remove the tax cut. They overreach and overcharged corporate America, the backbone of providing jobs. And you see this perpetual cycle until every bit of asset that America possesses has been depleted. And I mean assets not just in funds, but in labor. Funds and labor both go downhill. Boom. Goodbye, America. Then he does the brilliant thing of disarming the populace. That's his next goal. Disarm the populace. Remove your ability to talk freely. Censor your speech. Remove your ability to protect yourself. Second Amendment. Remove your ability to provide for yourself and your family. And then remove your ability to fight them. Sounds like Venezuela to me. We'll go down swinging, but they're still trying to get us to go down. That's all they ever say. It's better than Trump. I have yet to see one person post anything positive about Joe Biden. Like, I literally have not seen a single post anywhere about the benefits of having Joe Biden as president. And I'm talking about some big-time Biden supporters. Not a single one can give a reason why having Joe Biden is a good thing. It's trippy to me. So let's listen to him in his own words. Okay, let's listen to him in his own words. Make sure I have the right one here. Okay, so it's breaking down. All right, so let's do that.
I hate the myth of Hemingway.
Stupid and
obscures the
commercials.
His talent is stunning.
He went against the grain.
Make that muted. I don't need to hear all that. So we're going to listen to their take on it. He's going to talk for a bit at the end. And you'll hear just how nonsensical this man speaks and how much proof that you don't need much proof to show that he was an idiot and still is. Just epic.
The Biden White House has set in motion its next big campaign in Congress, a far-reaching rebuild of roads, bridges, power grids, and other projects. The rollout came in Pittsburgh today, and battle lines began forming. White House correspondent Yamiche Alcindor reports.
Thank you.
In the Steel City, President Biden laid out his plan to re-engineer America's infrastructure. The price tag, $2.25 trillion.
Nobody's even in this room. They found some empty location and dumped this fool with a podium in the middle of it. There's nobody there. Who's he talking to?
It's not a plan that tinkers around the edges. It's a once-in-a-generation investment in America, unlike anything we've seen or done since we built the interstate highway system and the space race decades ago.
Mr. Biden said the plan would create millions of new jobs and shift the country away from fossil fuel.
The American Jobs Plan will lead to a transformational progress in our effort to tackle climate change with American jobs and American ingenuity.
He also said his proposals are essential to help the U.S. compete with China, the world's second largest economy, and the investment it is making.
It's going to boost America's innovative edge in markets where global leadership is up for grabs. Markets like battery technology, biotechnology, computer chips, clean energy, the competition with China in particular.
The American Jobs Plan would spend $2.25 trillion over 8 years, and it includes $621 billion for roads, bridges, and other transportation methods, $580 billion for manufacturing, research and development, and job training efforts, $400 billion toward home care for the elderly and disabled, and more than $300 billion to improve drinking water, expand broadband access, and update electrical grids. To pay for all of that, the plan calls for raising the corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%.
Here's this part.
It aims to ensure multinational corporations pay at least a 21%
more tax
wherever they do business. And it aims to end federal subsidies for fossil fuel companies. The White House says these measures would extend over 15 years. The plan would effectively undo a major component of the 2017 tax cuts signed into law by former President Trump. The proposal comes after the World Economic Forum's 2019 global report ranked U.S. infrastructure 13th in the world. This year, the American Society of Civil Engineers also graded it a C-. But given the tax increases, building bipartisan support in Congress
Listen to this part.
Challenge. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell signaled that he would not support the bill.
It's like a Trojan horse. It's called infrastructure. But inside the Trojan horse is going to be more borrowed money and massive tax increases on all the productive parts of our economy.
Democrats may attempt to use a process called reconciliation to get the bill through an evenly divided Senate and prevent a potential filibuster. Ultimately, the White House says this is only one part of a two-part legislative package to reshape the American economy. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Yamiche Alcindor.
Tell me how any of that makes sense. Tell me how any of that makes sense. Let's start first. He's speaking to steel industries in an empty building about removing fossil fuels. No one caught that, right? I'm speaking to a sector that uses fossil fuels to do what it's got to do, while telling them I'm removing your use of fossil fuels. Okay. Then he adds the 8%, then a new 21% on multinational corporations. 29% right off the top. Increase in taxes. While in the same breath saying that he's creating more jobs. You're not going to create more jobs if you tax the people that are giving these jobs to death. They're not going to stay here. They are not going to stay in America where the taxes are high. They're going to go somewhere else where they don't have to pay that much in labor or in taxes. He's going to dump $630 million into job training. In other words, what that's going to end up doing is making people dependent on the government for stuff. That's all it is. It's just a different way to get people dependent on the government. And even in that, there's no guarantee that you're actually going to get a job because there will be none available. He's taking away fossil industry. Then he's talking about this green stuff, and they all still have to use the fossil industry to get built. Having a solar panel does not just make you green. You still need the fossil industry to do this. The fossil fuel industry is not going anywhere. This man is slowly but surely doing whatever he can to bring America to its knees for his people in China. They have the tapes, they have the information. If you notice, he hasn't done a whole lot on trades, right? Not a whole lot of information coming out there on the trades and how many deals he's making overseas. Where Trump was limiting China's reach, this fool is increasing it. He has allowed the purchase of land in America by Chinese development agencies with no kind of kickback at all, no problems, just do it. Even China called his administration a joke to his face. Did nothing about it. Of course, they'll go straight to China and Mexico, especially Mexico. I guess that's one way to get rid of the migrant issue. Build up Mexico's economy by kicking people out of America that are Americans. It'll just be transplaced. All of it will just be like, jobs go over there, the Mexicans come over here, and then they go back over. Honduras comes over here, and then we take our jobs down there. And then they end up leaving. I got you, Jennifer. Good to know. It is insane to me. This is pretty simple math to me. I don't get it. It's pretty simple to me. If I'm hemorrhaging money, I'm going to find a way to cut off that hemorrhage. If that means leaving where I have the hemorrhage happening and taking it somewhere else, that's what I'm going to do. Where Trump incentivized them to bring jobs here, this fool is disincentivizing them and sending them overseas. That's his plan? The destruction of corporate America. A new way to implement more socialism. Look, this entire power grab that he's trying to implement is going to end up destroying America as we know it. This infrastructure bill will not do what he says it's going to do. It is not going to create jobs. It is going to hamper them. People are not going to be able to pay workers if their income that they make is going out the door to the government and never returning to them. Okay, so we add $2 trillion to the deficit. And hope that it gets paid back with taxes. And when it doesn't get paid back with taxes, now we're left with another $2 trillion in debt. Yeah, exactly. Broadband. What? I thought black people couldn't use the internet. thought the internet was so difficult for most people of minority status to use. This is destruction of America, pure and simple. Unequivocally, destruction of America. Allow the surge of undocumented aliens, untested in what you consider a COVID epidemic, but limit the American people from going out and doing what they need to do. You have an entire facility that has 15,000% capacity overage in them, no issue. You can't go to church. You can't go to the store without a mask. You got to 6 feet apart. You can't. Everything is limited to the American populace. But on the tail end, no issue. Immigrants can come here, get displaced from their location, come here and displace Americans, displace orphans, displace homeless people, to house them while we pay for it. You won't tax us to help homeless people. You'll tax us to pay for illegal immigrants. You won't tax us to get vets off the street. You'll tax us for the illegal immigrants. I guarantee you now, if he was to come forward and say, I'm opening a GoFundMe for all the homeless veterans, you will see an influx of money like that. Because we do care about our vets. But you won't even see him do that. You'll see them opening shelters for the illegal immigrants and not care how many. Call it not a crisis like we talked about, not an issue, nothing to see here. This man's insane. The whole administration. And then he wants to talk about, oh, we got to make sure we find a way to push it through regardless. If the Republicans had said something like that, bigots, these people trying to power grab, imagine the minorities that don't have a say, the amount of nonsense they would push by saying if they had said something like that, it wouldn't end. If I can avoid the filibuster, and then I want to remove the filibuster. If they can remove any opposition, they will. Because they want to pass what they want to pass. That's disgusting. But we're letting them. No voting. Oh, I know. I know we've been sending money to feed everybody else. Trump exposed that in a massive way. But he was the horrible guy. Wow. Anywho, for tomorrow's show, I'm hoping they have a, I don't know if they, let me see first before I open my mouth. No, they haven't discovered one yet. I'm looking to see if the George Floyd case has been decided yet. It has not. I've heard threats that if they don't find him guilty, there'll be riots. And I told some people, if you riot, you'll get shot. So just expect it. Insane. Anyway, so I wanted to tackle that, but I won't. What we will go over is something similar. We'll try and go over the, I heard they got that boat dislodged without getting in there. So I knew there wasn't going to be any kind of big revelation because people are not looking to find truth anywhere. And I'm waiting to tackle any kind of human trafficking. I need a bigger platform for that. I need that word out big time. So I have to wait. That's going to hold off for a second. But I think what I'll tackle then is the rise in Black on Asian crime, the sudden rise of shootings and the push for gun control, all in the midst of trying to make the people of America desperate and poor. You can see where this is going to head. If you make people desperate and you say guns are illegal, people are going to do illegal stuff and get the guns, and then you're going to see an even bigger grab by just shutting down people. You see where the cycle is going to end up taking us. So I'm going to tackle that cycle tomorrow. Is there something we can look for specifically? What do you mean? Look for in regards to what? Jennifer, feel free. PM it away. Send it in. Toots, what do you mean by is there something we can do or look for? Maybe I missed a portion of your context of what you're talking about, but oh, no. There's I have a bunch of, my issue is trying to figure out which one I tackle first. I have a slew of stuff that I can't figure it out what I want to start because I have so many topics that I just have to try and narrow them down. So no, you don't have to worry about, but I think I will tackle at least the sudden rise in attacks and play some videos about that and see where those take us. So don't stress about that. Hopefully by Monday we'll have a result and we'll know more about what's going on with that. But we're in some rough waters right now, and eventually we're gonna get tested, and tested in a kind of way that I don't think we're ready for, but we have to be ready for. So if I can lay my hands though on this exact bill and an exact line by line itemization of things, I'll bring it back up on Monday, not tomorrow, because I'll probably end up needing the weekend for it so I can read it all through. But be aware that this is what he's trying to push through, and this is the result that's going to end up coming back on us. We'll have more taxes, corporate will have more taxes, and the jobs are just going to start drying up. And he doesn't care because he'll just keep trying to tout the same mantra. We'll create more jobs. People just have to get trained. We'll create more jobs. These are people who have not done a new job in some of them in 20 years. Some of these coal miners, that's all they've done. You're not going to be able to just drag them and dump them in a retraining program to do programming, to do satellite repair. It's not going to happen. One, not everybody's interested in that crap. Some people are just content to be a coal miner, a lumberjack. Hard labor. Some people are just built that way. So you're going to displace them regardless. Now, I'm not saying they can't learn. I am saying that they may not have any interest in learning it. And that's very possible. In any case, please keep an eye out. Be aware. Be aware. Love you guys. Have a good rest of the day. Like I said, I'll try and be back on tomorrow with that information. And we'll go from there. With these rising crimes and shootings and all that stuff, because they're trying to push an agenda, create more race wars, create more divide. And so we're going to dive into them and see exactly, and find out, see if there are any red flags that are going up. And figure it out from there. So until tomorrow, I will leave you with it again, that wisdom is calling to you from the streets. Please, please, please find wisdom.